What's up, everyday blades? So I got a knife that's been gaining popularity pretty strong here lately. I've seen it a lot in the groups. One way I gauge if a knife's going to be pretty good or not is a lot of times there's a lot of hype built up and a lot of people buy them. But then you'll turn around and see pretty quickly people selling them off. This one's not really the case on this one. You have to search a little bit. Especially if you want a certain variant. They come in crosshatch pattern, plain tie like this one. I believe they have G10 or it may be PVD coated. Anyway, there's a black handle one. Talking about the quiet carry drift. So, first impressions when I opened the box, I was impressed. The profile of it, the thin blade, it weighs nothing. Let's go ahead and check the weight on it. .8 ounces. I mean, like I said, nothing. It's got the wire clip. This one's got a nice wire clip. It's kind of heavy duty. When I got mine, the centering was off just a little bit. This knife runs on washers. One of the things is when you have a knife that runs on washers, you're not going to have the pivot tweaked down on it, so it could leave a little bit of room for play in there. So what happens is if your lock bar is too tight, it'll push the blade over to one side. So I opened it up, relieved the lock bar pressure, removed the lock bar stabilizer, relieved the lock bar pressure, put it all back together. She's good to go. And the action is my fault. The action is even better. It was a little stiff before, but she's good to go now, and I'm really impressed with it. Van X steel, good to go. I was kind of looking for the crosshatch pattern. I just didn't run across any. Found a deal on this one, and I'm satisfied with it. I think I would rather have the crosshatch pattern, but this one is super nice too. I like the titanium on titanium. Tumbled. It's got a little bit of polish to it. There's no roughness to it. There's no rough edges. Just a great knife. So not only is it a super thin blade stock, the blade on the end is super thin behind the edge. So this thing is slicing. The blade profile behind the edge reminds me of the Grimsmo Rask. It's the only one I have that has a blade that's that thin behind the edge. And you can kind of see if you're familiar with the Rask, which the Rask is not a small knife, but the drift is like a medium-ish to almost bordering on small knife. It's a medium-sized knife to most people. Let's check it against Spyderco Delica. Very close in size. And one more. Bug out. The reason I pulled the bug out is because they're very similar feeling and weight. And, you know, you get the benefit of the titanium without the extra weight. You know, this is G10. G10 is significantly lighter than titanium, so they hollowed out these scales all inside, which is becoming very popular, and I like it a lot. These scales don't need to be solid chunks of titanium. I'm a fan. There's another model, quiet carry, that I'm going to be interested in now that I've gotten this one, and that's what we do, right? We get a model of a certain knife, and then we like it, so we go looking for other models. But that's just a very clean knife. The ergos on it are fantastic. I mean, everything on it is just round and comfortable. The jimping's just in the right spot. If you're looking for an everyday carry knife that disappears in your pocket, this is it. I mean, 2.8 ounces, forget about it. You're just not going to find much in that category, especially when you're talking about a full titanium knife. Titanium's light, but it's not as light as G10 and all that other stuff. So I took it apart, put it back together like I do every secondhand knife that I get. And like every other one I've bought, and it was still new. I don't think anyone had ever taken it apart. But I take it apart to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be and kind of see how it operates. Took the lock bar stabilizer out of it. And, the fit and finish in there is phenomenal. I think that thing would stay without screws. put it back together. The ease of disassembly and assembly was just great. I mean, I kind of associate it with like my Grimsmo Rask. The easiest knife I have to take apart and put back together is my Grimsmo Rask. And this one, you know, is right up there with it as far as that goes. For the price of this knife, you're not going to beat it. And I'm not going to talk about price because they go up and down. I think they're, you know, about $300, and that, you know, that's a lot for some, and that's not much for a lot of people. But I think this kind of appeals to the regular collectors and the high-end collectors. I kind of consider myself a medium to high-end collector. I don't collect customs. I do collect a lot of mid-techs, and I love production knives. I love Spydercos and stuff like that. This is definitely right up my alley. So if you were considering it, I think you should jump all over it. Because if you decide for some reason you don't want it, I don't think you'll have a problem getting rid of it. As long as you're in Everyday Blades Facebook group. That polished stonewash is just one of my favorite finishes on a blade. Quiet Carry Drift. Go get you one. Guys, thanks for watching. God bless you and your families. Say a prayer for our country. Good night.